Upon entering the last great decade, the 1990s, Street Fighter II was the undisputed champion of the fighting game scene, whether at home or at the arcade. But as life imitates art, so did Street Fighter inspire developer Midway to work on a challenger of their own. To do so, they enlisted the help of Ed Boon and John Tobias, who would become the co-creators of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Boon took on programming duties for the series, while Tobias was the designer behind its numerous fighters and storyline. The game set itself apart from Street Fighter first with its look. Instead of fully animated sprites, Mortal Kombat's fighters were created using digital camcorder footage of live actors, or stop-motion animation in the case of the monstrous four-armed Goro. Next was the game's tone, in particular, its extreme levels of violence. In addition to the buckets of blood spilled after virtually every attack, players could carry out fatalities after winning matches, ultra-violent finishing moves, giving them license to smash heads, rip out spines, and impale motherfuckers on spikes. The violent content upset parents and lawmakers and led directly to the founding of the ESRB, Entertainment Software Ratings Board, which has been in place to protect children from the dangers of violent video games ever since. In spite of, or perhaps because of the controversy, the game was a more than worthy adversary to face off against Capcom's juggernaut. Even its occasionally neutered home ports sold millions, leading to a bigger, better sequel and many more follow-ups. Today, we take to the ring once more to throw fire, ice, fans, and lightning as we play Mortal Kombat! It's a video game podcast.
Wow!
And there's so much to discuss. One of us knows all about them.
That's you.
And the other one's a dunce.
That's me.
You're gonna learn about the very best games with two annoying dorks.
Fatality.
From asteroids to Zelda. From adventure to Zork. We have no life, and we feel no shame. We need your help, 'cause we're bad with games. Bad with games. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan.
My name is Will.
And we are Bad with Games.
We're gonna test our might today.
It's gonna get bloody up in here. You better believe it's about to get bloody, because today we're discussing, it's another double feature as we take a look at the first two entries in the Mortal Kombat franchise.
Yeah, that's right. It is, isn't it? I haven't even really considered a double feature. Wow. Our listeners are lucky fellas.
And fellettes.
And fellettes.
And to put it in Mortal Kombat or fighting game terms, you might say that this is a combo episode. Right?
I might say that. I might.
Yeah, we're talking about Mortal Kombat, the arcade game, which came out in 1992, plus its sequel, Mortal Kombat II, which came out in 1993. Now, there are many versions of both of these games across Super Nintendo, PC, Sega Genesis, which we can kind of talk about a little bit, but we didn't play them ourselves this week. Unlike with Street Fighter II, where we mostly played the Super Nintendo version, here we stuck just to the OG arcade games.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Remind me, on Street Fighter, there was a reason we did the SNES version. I don't remember why.
Street
You'll
Fighter
jog my memory.
2 is a little more, a little bit of an odder duck because there were so many versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like not just ports, but each sequential version actually added more fighters and elements and gameplay and things.
Right.
So,
I
like,
remember this.
So we played a version on Super Nintendo that had additional elements from that earlier versions of the arcade game didn't. We also then played like the final arcade version, if you recall, too. Also, the Super Nintendo version of that game had more, I think, of a focus just on like the arcade story mode, so to speak. The Mortal Kombat versions, from what I have gleaned, are not so different from each other. There's not they didn't do Mortal Kombat Hyper Fighting Edition or anything like that.
Okay.
So mostly the differences between the versions are graphical or audio related, not gameplay.
I see. So SNES for Street Fighter because it's kind of like that helps there be a standard, right? If you're an arcade guy and you went out and played Street Fighter in the arcade, who knows what you got. But if you were a home console guy, you played Street Fighter, that's what you played. Whereas Mortal Kombat, it's just it is what it is. So the arcades win because it's more of an arcade thing or something like that. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
more or less. I mean, there's like I think we said this during the Street Fighter episode, but there's like debate about which version of Street Fighter 2 is actually the best one, and people have their own preferences. But for Mortal Kombat, it's really just like the arcade one is generally just considered the best. There's not nearly as much discrepancy.
Sure.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is. Now I want to fill the folks in first. If you're just tuning in and you're new to the show, remember you can watch us at youtube.com/@badwithgames. See us playing Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 this week while you listen to us talk, or find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, whatever the fuck you're into. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/badwithgames, where we also do bonus episodes every single week. And I got to start off the show with some brief patch notes once again.
Let's hear some patch notes.
Just some real brief patch notes. There's just a couple of things that relate to last week's episode that I need to get out before we can move on. Last week we played Final Fantasy II, and one thing we played an English translated patch, right?
Yes.
So some elements, an unofficial one, I should say, a fan made one, because there was no official one released. And one of the things I forgot to mention that maybe I should have, there was one other little sneaky thing that I patched in. So I mean, I didn't do it myself; it was on the internet. That I applied to the ROMs we played that wasn't in the original game that I forgot to mention to you.
Yeah, this
And
would have been a good like end of episode reveal. It'd be like, I tricked you. Here's the twist.
watching the footage, maybe I should have mentioned it, but in the version that we played, you could hold down the B button to move your character faster. And that was not in the original release.
Where did I see that? Because I knew you could do that
It might
before
have
I
been
played from.
it might have been implemented in the GBA release. You might have seen it.
Okay. That might have been where I saw that. Okay. Yes, that was I would have been a lot less happy with the game and not been able to do that, I think. I don't
Kind
know
of
if it
an
actually would have
essential thing.
changed my score because my score was already like it's a lot of highs and a lot of lows.
Yeah.
But
Well, you might have gotten not half as far because of how long it would have taken to walk.
that's possible. That's true. It's certainly possible. That's true. I mean, that definitely improved the game experience. I'll tell you that.
For sure. The other thing I needed to mention was after reviewing your footage for last week, I have a bit of a bone to pick with you.
Is okay, yeah, tell me because I actually did have a question about this that I didn't figure out the answer to but didn't like work on. Yeah, tell me what this bone is because it
There's
might
no
be related.
No, whatever you're talking about, there's no way it's related to my bone.
Oh, okay, okay.
What's your thing?
My thing, because you were talking about holding down B to change run speed, and as far as I could tell, there wasn't a way to change text speed on a file after you've made it. Like, I would try to change the text speed, and it would be like, yeah, but you saved the game with text speed, like, low. And it slowed down my gameplay because early on in the game, I want things slow so I can read them, and then later on I'm like, yeah, I basically already know what everything says. It can fly by, but I didn't know how to change it. And
I
I
think
tried to look it up, I couldn't find it anywhere. So
I'm pretty sure you could just do it from the save file screen when you restart
uh
the game.
when I did it on the save file screen, it wouldn't, like I said, like it would do it, but then it like that would be the thing if I started a new game, I
I think you
think.
could just go left and right, and it would just do it over your
Hmm.
file. I'm pretty sure because I think I
I should try it because it seemed like something you ought to be able to do, but
the default speed was 6, which I kept
mhm.
it for most of the game, and then I think later I upped it to 7, if I
Yeah.
recall.
No, my you are right, and I think it went up to 8, and my what I wanted to do was start at 5, just give me time to understand what's going on, and then probably after about 2 to 3 hours of gameplay, I would have bumped it up to 8. But I mean, it wasn't a huge deal, but it was a little annoying.
Hmm. God, this is the worst, most boring conversation ever.
Well, you can cut it if you think people won't like it.
No, I want them to hear that you introduced this bullshit. What I had to say was a much more serious topic.
Hmm.
I didn't like that in your game, when you input your characters' names, you made them all caps.
Okay.
You wrote Fury in all caps. You didn't.
Yeah, sure.
The keyboard, the in-game keyboard provides you with lowercase
Yeah.
letters.
Yeah.
All the NPCs have a capital first letter and a lowercase rest of their name.
Well, here's the thing. I
Yours
hadn't
looked
seen
like
any.
shit.
Well,
Looked
I
bad.
disagree with this.
It
I
looked
disagree with
stupid.
this. First of all, I
Should have been
hadn't seen any
lowercase.
NPCs' names before I had seen these,
Have
so
you
I didn't
seen
know
the
what the
English
standard was
language
in
where
the
people
games.
write their names? Do you
But
write your
second
name in
of
all
all,
caps?
I have
Yeah.
seen games where things work like that, so I didn't
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
But second of all, you know how in newspaper comics sometimes they bold words for emphasis or to draw your eye here.
Sure, I love that.
This is a similar effect to that, where, proper nouns might be written in all caps so that you know who is being referred to or what is being talked about. It helps your eye scan it better. I thought the game actually had a little bit of a problem where it probably should have been all capsing place and people names in order for me to read it a little bit better. But I didn't complain too much about it. I didn't think it was a problem. Some people, I guess, are picky about that sort of thing.
It looked like shit. All right, enough with your patch notes. We have to get into the show. Can we stop wasting time like this?
I did actually want to mention something about it
Oh
because I
my
thought it was
god.
worth thinking about going forward into other Final Fantasies. And I'm glad you had some patch notes because it was so we mentioned, and I think you actually specifically were the one who brought it up, that the plot of Final Fantasy II is basically Star Wars, right?
Yeah, I
Going
recall.
through.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this with my housemate because he's also playing like the Pixel remaster at the moment. And uh I hadn't even this hadn't even occurred to me because I was joking about who would be Han Solo in this. And it didn't even occur to me, but it's Sid. Sid is just Han Solo, right? Like, he's got an airship. He's not allied with the rebels or the Empire. You pay him to take you random places at the beginning, but then he shows up like partway through to rescue blah 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 blah. And I don't know. I just felt like this was something that I want to keep in mind going forward with Final Fantasy games because I do understand that Sid is going to keep showing up, or different versions of Sid are going to keep showing up. And since I seem to like Final Fantasy, and I love Star Wars, and I love Han Solo, I think that it will improve my Final Fantasy experience to keep in mind that this guy's Han Solo every time I see him going forward. And I hope it'll improve your experience as well.
You mean me or the audience?
I mean you, but the
Oh,
audience too. I don't care about
can
the
I
audience.
can
You're
I
my
can I
friend.
can I completely ruin everything you just said for a
Yeah,
second?
ruin it. Ruin it. Ruin it.
Because I remember reading this. It's,
Uh-huh.
there's like there's a quote on the Wikipedia page for Final Fantasy II from I'm not sure if it's Sakaguchi or the scriptwriter, someone involved in the game, said that the character of Sid was created to be an intelligent and wise figure, quote, like Yoda from the Star Wars series.
Well, he's wrong. Because he doesn't act anything like Yoda, and he doesn't play the role that Yoda plays narratively.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. He's Yoda. He's obviously Yoda.
Like, listen, I understand, as a creator, you can think you're doing something and then just end up doing something wholly different. It is possible to just be entirely wrong about the art that you've made.
I don't
Honestly, this just makes me like it better.
I don't know if I feel like Final Fantasy games are not all Star Wars parables.
Well, no, but Sid will be there.
Oh, yeah,
So,
sure.
so I can carry forward my impression of Sid specifically.
And for me, I'll see how Yoda like he is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe going forward, I'll discover that in later iterations he is more Yoda-like. But I think this is a worthwhile point of contention when we move forward. Well, like, which Sid are we looking at, Han Solo or Yoda? There's multiple. There's two Sids inside of you.
Fly my airship, you will. Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, Chocobo. Okay, now it sounds like Pennywise. I went too far.
Yeah, I
Hey,
mean, really do got to cut you off on your Yoda impressions because I know they will go some places.
hiya, Georgie.
I
Yes.
just,
I didn't know I had a Pennywise in me. I just got to do Yoda bad. And
there you go.
okay, listen. It's time to talk about Mortal Kombat. We're going to learn our lore right now. Tell me, my friend, so to speak, for the listeners, you know. What's your history with the Mortal Kombat series, if any?
I do not know if I've ever actually played a Mortal Kombat game or not. Um, I may have, I might have. I've definitely seen Mortal Kombat around. I know what a fatality is. I knew that it was a controversial thing because of the violence and gore and blood. Um I'm aware of most of the characters by name, although most of them it's from the song. Uh, I've definitely seen the movie before, though I don't remember it that well.
The
So
original movie.
yes, yes. Um, so my exposure to Mortal Kombat is basically cultural osmosis, right? Nothing serious.
Yeah, that's I'm pretty much right there with you. I think I have played some version at some point of Mortal Kombat, but not these older original ones. And we already established in our Street Fighter episode our fighting game bona fides, by
Hmm.
which I mean to indicate the lack thereof.
Right.
Not a fighting game person, and this was not one that I ever fell into. But like you said, it doesn't. It's almost impossible not to know about fatalities and
Hmm.
get over here. And I did see the I did watch the new Mortal Kombat movie. I think I've seen the old one too a long time ago, but I definitely watched the new one when it came out on HBO or whatever a few years back. So like I had familiarity with many of the characters and the concepts behind it just because they have permeated culture in such a way, especially if you're into video games, you'll just see this stuff online and memes and the like.
Hmm.
It's out there, the combat that is mortal. But this was my first time really diving into either of these games. So it's going to be really exciting to hear our first impressions.
Oh yeah, everyone's on the edge of their seats right now. I don't know that
Oh, I
we
can't
have
wait.
any fighting game fans anymore. We might have driven them all off with Street Fighter.
No, they liked that. They liked
Okay.
that. They
Okay.
liked it.
That's good.
I have always had this impression, I will say, of Mortal Kombat that obviously, as you said, it's controversial. It's a very violent game, right?
Mhm.
Especially for the time. And I, I think growing up, I was a little bit of a little goody two shoes boy.
Mhm.
And I think for a while, I did kind of stayed away from. I don't know if that's really true. I just didn't tend to be attracted to more violent games like this, and I think that had something like this crossed my desk as a boy, I probably would have been like, "Ugh, that's too yucky. I don't like
Mhm.
that." It's kind of what
And
I think. It's the edgy bad boy of fighting games.
and you're talking about like all through your youth, or like what point would you have expected to have been?
Maybe like up until high school, probably.
Okay, okay, yeah, because I was gonna say like I would 100% agree with you up until around like middle school or so, at which point I absolutely would have been like, oh yeah, do something edgy, but
Right. I was like, I was the kid who I didn't watch South Park.
Mhm.
Eventually, I did watch South Park.
Yeah.
Remember Cartman? Imagine if Cartman was in Mortal Kombat.
Oh no.
Fatality! Fatality!
Oh
Respect
no.
respect my fatality.
There probably is a South Park fighting game. It seems
There
like the sort of
are
thing that should exist. Or
there,
like
there
a
are there's like a first person shooter sort of like that's snowball fights instead of guns.
hmm.
I don't know if there's a proper fighting game though.
There's probably a South Park episode where somebody gets their spine ripped out like Sub-Zero, right? It's got to
It
happen. Like
it
Kenny
could
maybe?
happen. Maybe Kenny gets his spine ripped out.
Until I'm not actually a South Park fan, I just am aware of it and have seen a couple.
Well, we're going to cover that on the Patreon soon. But first, we have to talk about Mortal Kombat. In order to get there, we need to break down the box art.
hmm
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, box art breakdown. Like I said, we played these on the arcade, so
hmm
we can take a look at the arcade cabinet art that existed for them, as well as the box art for the home console versions, which to me is better. I mean, well, I would almost argue the main thing to talk about when looking at these arts is less
hmm
the art and more the Mortal Kombat logo itself.
hmm
The round circle, as circles tend to be, with the dragon in the middle. Like that's the emblem of this series that
Yeah.
everybody recognizes.
Yeah, I mean, that is the real difference because, I mean, the box arts are basically just whatever, the emblem, the logo, um, with a background of some sort or other. The arcade cabinet has this logo on it, but it's like up in the corners. It's not like front and center prominent, right? The sides of the Mortal Kombat thing have like big character profiles. There's like this dragon like kind of winding down near the controls, but the actual emblem itself is like tucked away in the corner, kind of small.
Yeah, they've chosen each of the games as sort of a character, I guess, that represented it. In the original arcade, they had Liu Kang, and in the Mortal Kombat 2, they had Raiden.
hmm
And they're doing some action pose on the side of the cabinet. I guess there's also a dragon. I guess I should have looked up the origin of the dragon in the logo. Is that supposed to be associated with a character, or is that just a dragon?
Uh,
Is that Shang
hmm.
Tsung? Does he turn into a dragon or something?
Hmm.
I don't
I
know. I
don't
don't
really
know.
remember my lore.
I don't know the lore.
I
Folks,
mean,
you'll have to fill us in.
I kind of like the sassy look that this golden dragon is giving me here on Mortal Kombat 1. It's kind of like
Hmm.
raising his eyebrow and side-eyeing. Like, yeah, what of it?
Yeah,
You
kind of
know?
like bedroom eyes.
Kind of like it, yeah.
Kind of looking like
Inflates
Nala
you
in The
so you're
Lion
big and
King.
round.
What?
Eh,
What did you
whatever you
say?
were saying. No, you were saying something over there. I don't know.
I was talking about fucking a cartoon lion,
Oh, okay.
not an
um,
anthropomorphized one either.
yeah, I
Little
mean, these
lion.
characters are
Mm.
here. They're
Yeah, it's
fine.
whatever. But I feel like the
Like,
real
yeah.
juice is these like Super Nintendo and Genesis that kind of have the same look, where it's just
hmm
this pure. You know what this is. Here's the logo. Here's the name of the game. Let's fucking go. And then in the case of Mortal Kombat 2, even better. The logo looks cooler. There's lightning in the background and storm clouds. It looks ominous. It's
hmm
exciting. I'm
Raiden's
into it.
here. Yeah, it's interesting because you said you like these box arts better, and I was kind of looking at them like there's nothing on this box art. It just says Mortal Kombat. And like it almost like I was thinking I was like taking for granted this logo is like, yeah, that that logo just says Mortal Kombat. It's like there's nothing here. But I do think that yeah, this I don't know. Like, I'm so inundated with this that I'm almost glossing over it, and I shouldn't be taking it for granted because it is really cool.
This goes back to why I like the original NES Zelda box art. It's the less
hmm
is more approach. The Criterion Edition cover
Mm,
of the game
hmm
is
hmm
that's all you need. It's simple, it's clean.
Yeah, you're very minimalist on it.
Yeah, that's right. I don't need a bunch of busy shit. Like I like this better than the Street Fighter box arts where it's like two characters punching and there's like shit going on in the background. Just you don't need all that. Mortal Kombat. It's a
hmm
logo. I'm
I
there.
mean, I mean, I like fun personally, but
Ugh. This is, you know what it is? It's confident. It's like, we don't need to win you over. You know what we are already. You know you want this. We don't need to be flashy. Look, it's a fucking circle. You're going to buy it.
Mm. But you do like it. You think it's even better when they put lightning behind it and therefore make it flashier.
Well, that's because they're upping the ante. It's number 2.
Mm.
That's okay for number 2. Oh, you do one little change every time.
Competition edition.
I don't know what that means. I just don't look at that.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know what that is.
I didn't know what that was either. I was wondering if maybe you did.
I don't know. What do you think about the fact that combat's spelled with a K?
I'm into it. I like the gimmick of them spelling combat with a K and then just putting K on random ass words that shouldn't have them. I think it's fun.
There's different. There's some disagreement as to the origin of it. Like some sources say it might have been a legal thing, like to make it more copyrightable. Or somebody just said that one day somebody just wrote a K over it, like as a joke, and they said, "Yeah, that's pretty good."
Yeah, it's cool because it's not quite spelled right.
Mortal Kombat. Like, was that a phrase before these games existed?
Yeah.
It was?
I mean, I assume so.
How do you know?
I don't think of this. I don't think of this phrase as being something that's. I swear to God, I've heard like locked in Mortal Kombat from like pieces of literature older than
Yeah,
1990.
that sounds right. That sounds right. You're right. Locked in Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's so tainted now by the game. Not tainted in a negative way, but like I just cannot separate those two things.
Interesting, because to me, like, yes, the phrase in a vacuum means the video game, but like if you just kind of said it, like it wouldn't necessarily bring me to the game immediately.
I could.
Like,
It'd be like saying, it'd be like walking down the road and going, "Oh, that guy's a Street Fighter." Like that's. I'm not gonna not think about Street Fighter. Like, sure, there were fighters on streets before Street Fighter, but they kind of took ownership of it.
I mean, but if somebody said there was like a street fight or there was street fighting going on, you would think of the game Street Fighter.
Well, that's not the exact phrase, now is it?
Okay, I mean, This isn't like a gotcha. I'm just curious. You could have said yes for all I was.
Probably would. I mean, it would take me one more step, but yes.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I wouldn't think of Mortal Kombat, but I think that I would feel like I was making a connection and being like, oh, look at my stupid joke I made when I went Mortal Kombat. It wouldn't be like, yes, of course that's what you think. I'd be like, no, that's a phrase. People might use that. But I'm being dumb with it.
I think for me, I might see the phrase Mortal Kombat and my brain, I think, would say
read it as a K.
That's misspelled. I'd be like, why is it a C? They spelled combat wrong. if I after E except before C or whatever, and K if after mortal C becomes K.
Right. Yeah. That's correct.
I after E. Wait, what the fuck is it? What did I say? I before E.
I don't know what the fuck you
except
said.
after C?
I wasn't.
Wait, what is it? What's the rule? Why do I not remember?
It's I before E except after C, or when pronounced as an A as in neighbor and way, except when it's weird.
Right. Except after C, though? Why? What the fuck? What word is that?
English is weird.
Wait, like... What's the fuck it doesn't matter. We're not here to talk about this. I haven't been educated for a long time. Which is why I'm playing Mortal Kombat, baby. This is the game you played instead of doing your homework.
That's right. This is gonna rot our brains. Your parents will hate this one.
Oh, your mom's gonna be pissed about this episode.
She's gonna be like, "Oh, I can't believe what you just did on the TV, young man."
Yeah.
Or Fillette.
So we played... Right. Well, okay. So we played Mortal Kombat
vocabulary now.
1 and 2. How should we start this? Should we talk... Because they're mostly similar. I mean, Mortal Kombat 2 adds elements. For anyone who doesn't know, these are fighting games in which you choose one of several characters. Each character has their own unique special moves, as well as a shared pool of common moves. that you can enact by hitting buttons. And the game is a series of 1v1 matches, either against a human or an AI opponent.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the main differences between one and two, is that two has a significantly larger roster of characters, and every character has like what, three or four moves, as opposed to like two or three moves, or something like this. Like they add one to two moves per character, that you can do, and then in not 1v1, but when you're playing against the NPCs, there is definitely a difference in how the NPCs play against you. Other than that, I don't know that there's much that's worth talking about from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there are nuances, there's differences,
Hmm.
but like when largely discussing the concept of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, most of what we can say about them is probably interchangeable-ish.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say that two is more interesting to talk about when I'm playing versus a person, because there's just more to be done and more potential people to be playing as. Um, and one is more interesting when I'm talking about the NPCs because, like, two just locked me out entirely. But also, that's not that interesting of a topic anyway. So,
Well, why don't we start here? When we
yeah.
played Street Fighter 2, you had a very, you talked
Mhm.
about wanting to, or I don't know, at least like the potential of studying the how Street Fighter 2 worked and how you might carry over the lessons from that game into other fighting games, did you not?
Yeah, to some degree.
So, going into Mortal Kombat, did you take any of those lessons with you, and how did it go?
Um, it's hard to say. There's a so the to me the biggest difference in playing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, not like because there's a lot of differences in how the game portrays itself and how the characters are designed and how they look and blah blah blah. But the actual feeling of playing it in Street Fighter 2, you've got your basic moves and then you've got your combo moves. Each character executes their basic moves somewhat differently. And their combo moves there's really only like two or three different sets of button presses, at least in the early Street Fighter, right? Like this combo of buttons will make, Honda do one thing and make Guile do another thing, and so on and so forth. Um, but like it's the same combo of buttons. I don't know if those two characters share it, but there really aren't that many. In Mortal Kombat, so in Street Fighter, a lot of it is kind of learning like where is your character and how do they move, right? And that's true even at the fundamentals, right? Like if I'm just doing like low punch, high punch, low kick, high kick, like I seem to kick at different speeds and with different strengths and in different locations because my character's a different size. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe a fighting game person would yell at me and tell me I'm stupid, but that was the impression that I got. Um,
I would never.
yeah, I honestly don't know how much even you have your finger on that. Uh,
Oh, I've
but
got my finger. Mhm.
In Mortal Kombat, the basic moves really feel like they're basically the same for every character, right? If you're just fighting with your standard one button presses, there's not really any difference between playing Raiden and Liu Kang, at least as far as I can tell. Um, but so it really is like all about the combo moves. And the combo moves are like all different. Like every single person has a different set of buttons for like every move they could do. So it's a lot harder. It's not so much like, okay, if I switch from this character to this character, I'll still know how to execute the combo, but I won't really know where I'm gonna go or like when I should be doing it. In Mortal Kombat, I've got to learn that, but I've also got to remember what the fucking button press is. So it's very difficult to bounce around between characters. And if I'm not doing that, it kind of doesn't matter. Um So, yeah, I'm wondering if this is your kind of impression of the gameplay as well, or if this sounds odd to you.
The first part is something I actually totally did not think about, but you're right that in Street Fighter 2, each fighter fundamentally feels different, different sizes, shapes,
Mhm.
weights, and stuff like that, which I imagine comes from the fact that in Street Fighter, of course, all the characters are fully animated sprites, drawn and created in a computer. Whereas in the whole thing of Mortal Kombat is that at least the early ones, is that the fighters were created using FMV video footage of actual human
Mhm.
actors
Yeah,
with
which is
like,
why I said gameplay, because that is the first thing you notice booting this game up.
right,
You're like,
right.
"Whoa, that's a dude."
But
So
I guess like when you're doing it that way, I mean, I guess they could have changed it, but it maybe like each person, it's not like there's not a Blanca, there's not a giant green
Mhm.
guy, there's not a little bird, whatever. There's just everybody's just kind of a human, and they all kind of have the exact same proportions, more or less, once they put them on screen.
Mhm.
So that I maybe that just lends itself to them all kind of moving and working the same. I think my brain was so concentrated on trying to figure out special moves and remember them that I didn't even think about like the individual movement differences if there were any. But
Mhm.
I think you're right. I do think you a little bit like, yes, I think Street Fighter did have more moves in common, but there still was a fair number of unique special moves you had to memorize per character. More characters had overlaps, but it wasn't like, oh, once I know everybody has this forward move. Like, no, maybe like three people
Yeah.
have that, but if you're choosing a different three, they don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess what I mean, like I said, I think there were like basically three sets of these. Like there might be one or two that don't quite fit the mold, but it kind of was like, okay, I really only have to learn like two characters, and I've got the majority of the roster in terms of how to control them. I mean, to be fair, doing things like Chun Li's Fireball, right? Like that was one of the unique ones, and I gravitated away from that because I was like, I can't fucking do this. I'm just going to go to the guy who does the same thing everybody else does. And I think you were trying a lot harder to land those specific moves than I was.
Yeah.
So you might have been gravitating toward uh,
Mm.
the exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, and in Mortal Kombat, there's a couple too. Like, I know Sub
Mhm.
Zero's ice is the same as I think somebody Liu Kang's fireball, or maybe it's Johnny somebody's something. There's a couple moves are the
Mhm.
same, but most of them are
Yeah,
different.
that's true. That's true. There is, and I do think that Scorpion and Sub Zero are literally the same controls for all the like. It's actually Street
They're
Fighter at that
also
point. Yes,
they're palette
there's a
swaps of
reason
each
for
other
it.
too.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a reason for it, but they do different things. It's just the same
yeah.
controls.
But yeah, and it's hard for me in general because my fighting game of choice is Super Smash Brothers, and
Hmm.
that is the game where literally
Yeah.
every character has the same special move inputs. So anything beyond that to me is like, whoa, I have to
Hmm.
learn something.
Yeah.
um,
I'm curious what you think about that because like I like the idea that everybody has the exact same controls, they just do very different things because of the fact that I have to be so mentally conscious of what my fingers are doing. Like if I have to learn one new button press, like all of a sudden half my ability to focus on the game is gone. So, like, I like it when my entire attention can just be on like how my character is behaving and not what my fingers are doing. But I could see it potentially being more interesting to have more variance because then it's like, oh, it really physically feels like I'm using a different fighter because my fingers have to do different things. I don't know
mhm.
if you have a preference.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before, but generally speaking, part of my hesitation with fighting games is that I don't really want to do that stuff. To me,
Mm-hmm.
the memorization of moves on the surface is not that appealing.
Hmm.
It is one of the reasons I love Smash Brothers because I like to switch characters a lot. I like variety. I'm not a guy who usually sticks to just one person over and over again. I'm like, I want to switch it up all the time. And you can do
Mhm.
that in Smash. And in Mortal Kombat, it's like it's harder to do that unless you're experienced with the game.
Mhm.
If you're jumping in, it's like you better learn one probably because you're gonna get
Yeah.
confused quickly.
Yeah. And I think
Uh,
that's even more true for Mortal Kombat than it is for Street Fighter,
I think so.
where it's a
Now,
lot more easy. Yeah.
where Mortal Kombat had I think an advantage to me over Street Fighter. I think you found this too. Um, for whatever reason,
Mhm.
seemed like the inputs required for the moves in Mortal Kombat, I was able to execute successfully more consistently than Street Fighter. Like not even like way more consistently. I felt like half the time in Street Fighter, even when I did remember the combo, what I was doing was just trying to pull it off. And in Mortal Kombat, 90% of the special moves, once I memorized them, I could pretty much do them every time. I found them much easier to carry out.
Mm. Even with my best characters, I still probably only had like an 80% hit rate on moves. There were definitely fights I lost because I was like, I needed to do that one move right then and I didn't do it and now it's over. That being said, I did find it a lot easier still to do combos than I did in Street Fighter, but I can't assess that adequately. Because so one thing that changed for me this week is that last week playing Final Fantasy, my controller broke, and so I got a new one. And additionally, I actually, after our whole long conversation about like pressing the D-pad, I have actually tried to change the way in which I press it based on a photo you took of your finger pressing the D-pad. So
We need
two
to
things
we need to
about what,
recap
yeah.
for people what this was about because this was because you were
Yeah.
you were struggling to hit diagonals successfully.
Yes, I was struggling to hit specific diagonals, up right and down left, as opposed to up left and down right. And so I believe that part of the issue here is that I was using more of the pad of my thumb on the D-pad. So because your thumb is like elongated, if I'm using the pad of it, right, it easily hits up and down or, it easily hits up and left and right and down, but because of the angle it's coming in and the fact that it's longer than it is wide, it's not easily hitting the other diagonal. But and so I drew a diagram. I think I said I would on the podcast. I drew a diagram. I showed it to you, and you said,
I put
"I
it in the
guess I."
video. People saw it.
Okay. Okay, good, 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 good. Yeah, and I think you maybe didn't quite get what the like you were like, "That all is true, but I don't it's not a problem." And I asked you to send me a picture of your thumb on the D-pad, and I noticed that in your thumb, you weren't really using the pad of your thumb. You had more the tip of your thumb centered and seemed to be kind of rolling around the tip of it. And I think that gives you more precise control and an easier time. So that's what I was trying to do here as well.
Just a
Does that make sense?
fascinating. I mean, it does because I know what you're talking about. I don't know if it will to
Okay.
other people, but
Well, you can
you
put
were
up the
almost
pictures.
like trying to hit, like if you were going, say northwest for lack of a better term,
Mhm.
up left, you were almost trying to hit like left and up the at the same time as opposed to hitting the center in between them. I think.
Yeah, something like that, basically.
Which is a problem that like in a million years I
Mhm.
never could have anticipated because
Yeah.
it's just not something I ever have heard anyone doing.
Yeah, I mean, like, really, it comes down to where my thumb was centered. Like, if you were to look at the tip of your thumb and just say, like, point to the center of the pad of your thumb, all of my inputs were basically centered on that spot. That would be the point of highest pressure. And looking at you, it's like up at the top and like
It's like the
down to the
actual
outside.
top. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like up near the nail, which
Yeah.
I think gave you better control. So I had a new controller and a new grip, and so I had a much better
Wow.
hit rate here. So I can't tell how much of that is the game. I still wasn't consistent. But
I
what
mean,
can you do?
yeah.
I'm not good
I,
at games.
I can tell you, as someone who was doing it the same way, I found it easier. I want to just for
Mhm.
anyone who hasn't played Mortal Kombat or has forgotten, just an example of some of the sort types of moves that you'll execute. Besides, you have your basic, you have
Mhm.
a low punch, high punch, high punch, high kick, low kick, blah blah blah. You can block, jump, etc. Um, then, like for instance, for Raiden to throw a lightning bolt, it's you hit down, forward, and punch really fast. He also has a teleport move, which is just down and up fast. Most of the time, there are like 3 or 4 inputs that you have to do in a row. And I feel like there is kind of a logic to some of them, at least. Like to me,
Mhm.
like that lightning bolt or like Sub Zero's ice. It's similar to the fireballs in Street Fighter 2, where um, it almost feels like you're pushing it forward through the controller. You're like down, forward, punch. It's almost like
Mhm.
maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm adding that onto the fact because I know how it works, but I do kind of feel in my body like I'm moving through the controller now. Zoom, it goes out.
Yeah, I could
uh,
definitely see that. That would make sense. I mean, I was using Liu Kang most, and there is also logic there in that most of his moves are just double tap forward and then hit a button. And yeah,
mm,
high punch is high fireball, low punch is low fireball, and high kick is flying kick.
right.
And so, like, there is a kind of logic to that that's very, very easy to remember.
It's not like I think what I fear a fighting game will be, which is like 12 inputs of BAXY, up, up, down, down,
Right.
crazy shit, which I don't know when or where those do or don't enter the picture. But especially, it was also actually really nice starting with Mortal Kombat 1, because as you said, that game, some characters only have 2 special moves. And
Hmm.
so it's a really nice beginner entry level thing to just only have to remember 2 things that you're doing. And when I went to Mortal Kombat 2 at first, I even was like, oh no, this is too many. 4 moves. Now, what I eventually came to doing, which I highly recommend if anyone has the opportunity. In fact, I think later fighting games, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, may have an option to just put these on the screen for like a tutorial mode or something. But I started literally playing with a guide up in one window and the game next to it, so that I could immediately move my eyes and reference the controls as I was choosing a character. And I got to tell you, that actually doing that made me really appreciate at least Mortal Kombat 1 a lot more, because I felt like I no longer had a fear of switching characters, because I just would scroll a little and be like, "Oh, I kind of remembered this one enough." And I even if I didn't look at it, it's like taking a test with the open book. It's like
Hmm.
you just feel a little extra security having those moves there. I think if I had played this as a kid, I would have taken a piece of paper and written the moves down and taped it to my TV. And I think that's the way to play if you need to learn how to play this game. And maybe if I had done that for Street Fighter, looking back, I might have had a better time with that game.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, because like I do feel you on that, but I would probably tend toward the way to play it would be to play with just one character, because
Yeah.
then like yes, it's 4 moves, but there's probably some logic and you will eventually learn all 4 of them. It's not that bad. You can focus on just learning one and then adding a second one in and then adding a third and adding a fourth. Um but yes, if you're gonna be switching around characters, yeah, I don't see how this is doable without that. At least not versus another player.
Yeah. I definitely still gravitated towards like 2 or 3
Mhm.
that I was like, these feel more my speed. But it is what it is. We should talk a little bit about the graphics and stuff
Mhm,
before
mhm.
going on, because obviously that's a big part of it. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the look of this game?
Um, I don't know. I am of 2 minds. I think that in general, my personal style is more geared toward the Street Fighter. Oh, look, it's a sprite, look at this. I've made this character who there's a lot more you can do with that fits me. But I will say, like, it is pretty cool, right? Like when you load it up and you're like, oh shit, that's a guy. There's a dude on screen, right? That's not a cartoon character fighting, right? That's like a
Yeah.
person. It's the closest thing you can get to like a video. It's like a video game, you know. Um I thought that was pretty cool. And I could see, if you're at the arcade at the time being like, "Oh shit, yeah, this is so badass. Oh my god." And then there's blood everywhere. Yeah. Like I get that for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure at what point Mortal Kombat abandoned that because newer Mortal Kombats are just fully just in-game graphics.
Mhm.
And I kind of like, I think even since like the PS2 era, that happened a long time ago. And I kind of think they've fucked up.
Mm.
I think they should bring it back because I think it's cool and it gives the series a unique look. And maybe it only works because these games are old and retro now because it's kind of silly and cheesy, but I think it is in a fun way that it does feel like a very 90s like Todd McFarlane Spawn Venom, like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, this is badass, I'm gonna play this game and then go skateboard somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that
uh
is the point, right? Like, if you're not doing that, I don't know what the identity of the series is.
well, it's you still get that it's just through all the blood and the violence and the announcer going
Mhm.
"Rah, fatality" and that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
um i- yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no,
You
you you
inhaled.
you
I heard
can
you
continue.
inhale. I was just gonna say, it is funny looking back on it. This game was one of its most lasting impacts is the controversy of how violent it is.
Mhm.
And this is one of the main games before Mortal Kombat. There was no ESRB to rate games. And that was one of the big problems was everybody just assumed all games are for kids, and all of a sudden there's this game people can buy among a few other ones, and parents are like, this is fucked up. And so that eventually led to them actually rating. Mortal Kombat 2 is rated M. That was like
Mm.
one of the first games they had a rating for like that.
It's fine.
It what's looking back at playing it this week, I don't know if I am just totally desensitized or if it's just because we've advanced so much farther from the 90s, but
Mhm.
almost never did I play this and really think it was so over the top violent and disgusting. I never had that feeling from it. Am I just
Mhm.
am I just desensitized? Like, I mean, they do rip out spines and stuff. There is
Yeah,
some
one
of
time you
that.
kicked my head off, I remember that.
Yeah, like a head goes, but it's like itchy and scratchy, like
Mhm.
I was gonna say it
Yeah,
is
and
cartoony, but I guess compared to other games of the time, it's actually
yeah.
realistic.
Yeah, and the blood is very cartoony too. Like that is, I think, worth noting that the characters, are fairly video realistic, but the blood is like just obviously, pixelated in. That doesn't look realistic. Right? The blood in Mortal Kombat would not look out of place in Street Fighter, in terms of its style, I think. So I think that also does help make it more cartoonish.
Yeah, it is red. This was another
Yes.
one of the other big things about Mortal Kombat. It sort of was one of the big catalysts of the 90s console wars
Mm,
because famously Nintendo censored the Super Nintendo version of the first game. And instead of blood, it was just sweat. And they altered some of the fatalities to make them less violent. And
mm,
that was one of the big turning points of the schoolyard wars of kids saying, if you play Nintendo, you're a baby because that's the baby
right.
game. And
Right,
Genesis
right.
is cool. Genesis, there's blood. Although I don't remember, some versions you maybe needed a code. You could input a code
Mm,
to get the blood to show, but
yeah, I just
yeah.
know it does what Nintendo don't.
No, no, no. Oh, that's right. That's right. You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Nintendo
The
though
only
is
the
what
only thing I
Genesis
know.
isn't. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I figured you'd have a response to that. I know
Well,
what side you were on.
well, listen, I'm just for
Yeah.
historical balance. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because, I don't know how much of it is just that the style feels quaint to me, because that can definitely be a thing in other artistic mediums too. Like, if there are times where if you can like read, old letters from the 1800s, and you're like, you know, I'm aware that this is extremely pornographic in nature, but like it just comes off as silly, right? Like it's not. Come on, like they're
Right.
using old timey language. It's old people.
Right. And
Like it's
Gone with
not
the Wind,
really.
it was a big deal that Clark Gable took his shirt off. Like that was
Mm,
racy at the
I've
time.
definitely heard some things that would count as racy in the modern age, but still are from that time.
From Gone with the Wind?
But not from Gone with the Wind.
Maybe
But yeah.
racist.
Yeah, but yeah, so I don't know how much of it is that, and how much of it also is that, like, it's not like Mortal Kombat doesn't exist, and it's not like they aren't upping the ante. So I do think there is also this tendency to be like, listen, we made even more fatalities in Mortal Kombat 2, and they're even bloodier and crazier. And then we had 3 and 4 and 5 and say I don't know how fucking many they have now. But like when
A
I think
lot.
of a modern Mortal Kombat, I've seen footage from them and I'm like, yeah, you get like the slow-mo like X-ray shot of the ribs cracking and then they rip out the heart and they're trying to I don't even know what the fuck they're doing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, because every game has got to get more graphic, or else why did you even buy it? So now you look at the first one and you're like, oh, I could beat that. I've seen better.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
got to
know.
just think it was at the time you're looking you're looking at
Hmm.
Cubert or something.
Right. Yeah.
And then right next door is a guy getting his head chopped off.
The gore's been power crept. I haven't done Cubert yet. You need to say like Pac-Man or something.
I didn't want to. I was trying to go for something a little more unique.
Mm.
Thought it'd be. You know what's funny in comedy is the hard consonant sounds. Like Qbert is funny.
Mm.
I guess Pac-Man is
Cubert
kind of
is
funny.
funny. Pac-Man
Yeah.
is also funny. They're both pretty funny. They both, not really knowing much about Cubert, I imagine it to basically be the same thing as Pac-Man.
Yeah. Maybe you're right.
Well, I'll find out. Yeah, going back a little bit here, in terms of like the photorealism and the way that they're moving away from it. I think also part of it is just the characters because, I look at their original roster of characters compared to the Street Fighter characters, and I don't know. I kind of look at all of them, and I'm kind of like, I feel like all of the attachment that I have to these characters is just like because they're Mortal Kombat characters. Like I know them from the song. I've seen them in the memes. If I had never seen these guys before, like at what point am I just going to be like, "Oh yeah, there's Sub-Zero. I mean, I guess he's kind of cool, kind of a generic looking ninja. Oh, there's Scorpion. He looks exactly the fucking same. All right, I'm bored, right? Like, there's not that, like, it feels like they're whereas, I could look at a lot of the Street Fighter characters knowing if I'd never heard of them, I'd be like, whoa, that's a design. Like, look at that design. So I feel like a lot of the pull in the initial characterization of the Mortal Kombat characters is coming from their presentation, right? The way that they've got that video thing, the way that they've got all this gore attached to them. Um, And maybe after they've established enough of a cultural footprint, and people are like, "Yeah, that's Sub-Zero. I think he's cool because it's Sub-Zero." Right? I love Sub-Zero. Now we don't need those other hooks anymore. You can just put him in there. I don't know if you'd
Yeah.
agree.
I halfway agree. I do think Street Fighter, yeah, the designs are overall better and more they're just more varied. Again, it comes down to these are most of these are just they're humans that they modeled, so there's not as much distinction between them. But I do think Sub Zero is awesome. And I think Scorpion and Raiden are awesome, and Katana with the fans is pretty iconic, and so is Johnny Cage. Um, I think maybe more of it stems from their abilities and the attachment you get to them through playing them, which I guess is
Mhm.
basically what you were saying. Um, But I actually kind of like in that sense. Like when I think of Sub-Zero, I'm like, well, obviously he's the ice guy. Raiden is the lightning
Mhm.
guy. Scorpion is the harpoon guy.
Right.
And at least with Street Fighter 2, you do have that. I get like I don't know, Chun-Li and Ryu have fireballs, but like I don't know. I don't feel like they have
Mhm.
as distinct identities in terms of their move sets as
Mhm.
opposed to their actual character designs.
Yeah, I guess that is true, right? Because if I like, I am saying like I look at Scorpion and I'm like, I'm bored by this design. But when he goes, get over here, I love it. I
Hmm.
fucking love it. That rules, whereas like, I look at like, say, a Chun-Li and I'm like, that's a great character. Right.
Right.
Even like Ryu and Ken, I look at them and I'm like, these guys are like the iconic karate guys, right? There's the Japanese karate guy, there's the American dojo burnout karate guy, right? Like they look like karate guys. I don't need to see them do anything. But yeah, when the Mortal Kombat characters do stuff, it does tend to be more awesome and iconic.
Yeah, like even, E Honda and Blanca and all these characters that I
Mhm.
like, even love, it's like what are their iconic moves? Punching and kicking.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
they don't do as much of the crazy shit as these guys do. And of course, we are right now just comparing the early games. I'm as the games go on, I'm sure this changes, but
Yeah, I mean, like Honda, I do love his like just spam a flurry of
mhm.
hands at you, but also there's Baraka when he does his blades thing where he just sits there and goes ah. I mean, that's better even.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it gets closer to the Smash Brothers thing for me of
Mm,
feeling like I like that they all feel they kind of almost have gimmicks, you know, that are fun. Reptile spits acid. Like you said, Baraka has giant whatevers for hands. Kung Lao throws his hat.
hmm.
They feel less generic again in terms of their move set. I do agree. If you looked at them strictly on paper, the designs, then it's like I think Street Fighter probably wins in most cases. I mean, literally, as we said,
Hmm.
Sub Zero and and Scorpion and Reptile are literally just palette
Yeah.
swaps.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this sort of takes us back to the gameplay mechanics thing, and that like this fundamentally does seem to be the divide between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter is that Mortal Kombat is all about the special moves and combos, right?
Mhm.
Like in Street Fighter, even just playing with your basic moves, right, all the characters feel distinct. In Mortal Kombat, they all feel exactly the same. In Street Fighter, just looking at a character sprite, you get some cool sense of the character. In Mortal Kombat, I don't know, whatever. But once you start adding those special moves into Mortal Kombat, yeah, the gameplay becomes far more interesting and varied and crazy, and the characters are much more fleshed out. Like I do think that Mortal Kombat is just to me anyway, from these original comparing these side by side, defined by its combos.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And I think it's also fair of us to do the direct comparison if we want to, because these were out right around the
Mhm.
same time. And almost every review, I mean, the reason the game was made was as a response to Street Fighter 2 because it was so popular.
Mhm.
And so people were looking at these side by side and pitting them against each other. They both were insanely successful too. So there's no losers here. They both sold 8 million copies. They both had movies made, and they're both still getting games today. By the way,
Mhm.
there's like a dozen of them, and you know what's really annoying is one of the newest Mortal Kombat's. They sort of rebooted the storyline, and there is now a Mortal Kombat called Mortal Kombat One. So if you try to look up Mortal Kombat 1, half of what you're going to get is the new game versus the original game. And fuck
Oh
them for doing
boy.
that.
Oh
that
boy.
pisses me off.
That is
Fuck
annoying.
you.
That is annoying. I don't like that.
Mortal. I think there's also a new one just called Mortal Kombat. Like they did it. I don't know. Fuck them. Now we played, of course, some on our own. We also played a great deal of this together, which that video might be up on our Worse with Games channel. I haven't looked at it yet to see if it's worth posting or not.
Yeah, I mean,
But
so much of it is just us fucking around and figuring out how to play. It's possible that there's a decent amount of stuff that's interesting. It's possible that it sucks. I don't know.
well,
That'll be up to you.
I actually think what watching it is interesting. Like I think it's going to make great footage for this podcast episode right now on YouTube. I just don't know if our commentary was exactly scintillating. But I think, for my money, compared to Street Fighter, I think it's, again, because in Street Fighter, so much of it was us going, hey, I keep trying to do the fire, but there was literally like 20 minutes of us both trying to do Chun-Li's fireball and not being able to do it. And in this game, in the footage from Mortal Kombat of us playing, we might not be very good at it, but we're doing the shit. We're using different characters, we're jumping around, and we're using the moves, and you're seeing it happen. And if you're not listening to us talk about how bad we are at it, you might be fooled briefly into thinking we kind of know what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you know what you're doing, you're looking at it like these guys suck. I can tell they're not. Yeah, so it is such a different experience playing this against another person than playing this against the NPCs, to the point where I don't think I even really see the point of playing against the NPCs in this game. I'm just going to say that right now.
Weird.
Like
a fighting game where the selling point is the multiplayer and not the single player? Huh.
I know, but it's more so than that. Like in Street Fighter, I went and beat the story progression with multiple characters. I did it on like the easiest difficulty, but I did it, and I do think it made me a better player with the characters that I played with. Like I think it helped. I, after we did that, went and tried to go through the story in Street Fighter 1 and
Street Fighter 2.
Both.
Wait, no, you just
Oh, no,
Mortal
no,
Kombat
I'm sorry,
1.
Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 1, yes. In
Okay.
Mortal Kombat 1. And, I got to the point where they were doing the endurance rounds where you had to fight multiple characters, and I was like, fuck this. This sucks. But, like, also, what I discovered there was that, like, the pressure from the opponents was so relentless that they don't really give you the space to ever even do your special moves. To the point where I was mostly beating them by executing basic moves better. And it was boring because the only interesting part of the game is all the special cool stuff you can do. So like when I tried to use any of my special combos in against the NPCs in Mortal Kombat 1, I would just get my ass beat because they would immediately like dodge, close distance, and then beat the shit out of me. Not with their own special moves, but just with basic, high punch, leg sweep, uppercut. Right? Like stuff like they wouldn't even use their special move. They just kick the shit out of me with their regular moves. And if I fought them with only my regular moves, I would counter that and I could beat them and I could move on. And it was just so boring and unfun. And I was like, this sucks, and it's not even making me. I mean, maybe it's making me better because maybe it's making me better at the fundamentals, but it's not allowing me to practice the stuff that I actually find interesting and fun. Again, in Street Fighter, the fundamentals were more fun, right? Because they were more varied and character specific. So, like, practicing those against the NPCs was in and of itself more fun, and I had more opportunity to use my combos. So in this one, it was like it was the difference between, yeah, the main selling point is fighting another player, but you could go do the single player to train just to get better in the meantime, so you come back and you feel a little bit more comfortable the next time I fight you. And here I was just like, I would never do this again. I don't see any reason to ever play against an NPC. The only reason to ever pick up this game is if somebody's going to play it with me, which is much more in line with, I think, with how you felt about Street Fighter.
Yeah, so I had a slightly different experience from you in both cases.
Okay.
In Street Fighter 2, I I never managed to beat the story mode.
Mhm.
I don't you just like locked into an E Honda combo or something, and I was never able to get there with any character, and I just gave up. I failed to beat this. I just couldn't
Mhm.
fight those NPCs. Mortal Kombat 1, I found that I was able to get my special moves off pretty well. There are definitely, it feels like there's times where the NPCs just decide, no, we're not going to let you do anything. But then I
Mhm.
would like die and come back and it would work again for whatever
Mhm.
reason. So and maybe it's just because maybe I was more stubborn and I just like insisted on using my special moves until I got through it that way. And maybe you just said immediately you found that you didn't need to and said, fuck it, why should I bother? Um, I did, however, run into the same thing you did at the end, where the way the arcade, I don't know what the story mode, whatever it's called in Mortal Kombat works, Mortal Kombat 1, you fight a series of enemies. There's these little breakup mini games where you're punching blocks or whatever. And then eventually, before the last bosses, you have to do matches where you fight two characters in a row. So with one health bar, you have to beat two characters. And I tried this so many times with so many different characters, and often like the ones that I thought I was the best with, which were like Sub-Zero and Raiden. I tried it with all of them to be like, oh, maybe there's this one move I can do. And there were times when I got so close, like the other character had a little bit of health bar, and it was the second one I had to beat, and I was right there, and then they would still beat me, and I never could do it. And I was just like, you know what? These matches are fucking bullshit. And I really wanted to get past them because I really wanted to fight Goro and stuff at the end and see Goro, who's the big guy with four arms, and
Mhm.
Shang Tsung, the big villain of the tournament. That's the whole story of the game. But I couldn't even beat one round, and there's three of these endurance matches, and I was like, this sucks. I can't do it. I gave up. And it didn't seem fair. Now, Mortal Kombat 2 is take that to 11.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2, much like I mean Street Fighter, I think did this also, but to a great extent, Mortal Kombat 2, the AI straight up just
Yeah.
cheats. I mean, it's
Yeah.
unbeatable.
I beat the first enemy, the first stage in Street Fighter 2 after playing with you.
Mortal Kombat
Uh
2.
I don't fucking yeah, Mortal Kombat 2.
Come on, buddy.
My brain is all right. So in Mortal Kombat 2, yeah, I beat the first stage after fighting with you for a while. And then I got to and I had the same problem. But like cranked up to 11, where it was just like very hard for me to use special moves. I wonder if part of the problem with this is also that I was mostly trying with Liu Kang because I was at my best with him, and all of his moves are like kind of distance moves, and
Mm.
the NPCs immediately started every battle by closing the distance, getting right up in your face, and it was just like, okay, if I try to run away, you might kind of back off and try to use your own thing, or like not be sure if you can come in or not. Whereas the NPC, if I'm trying to run away, they're running after me. They're never letting there be distance. And I don't know how that would differ, but yeah, in Mortal Kombat 2, I beat the first stage, then I got which was, I think, Scorpion, then I got to the, second stage, and I just got perfected twice in a row, like, literally, match 1, they beat me, no damage, match 2, they beat me with no damage, you lose, restart, match 1, they beat me with no damage, match 2, they beat me with no damage, you lose, and I was like, "Fuck this, I'm done, I'm not even trying. Fuck it, I don't even care."
It is.
Can't even get a hit.
It's really absurd. Like you have to. I think the only way to beat them is to just lock into specific, like cheap tactics that the NPCs will fall for. There's, from what I've read, there's certain they'll kind of react to you depending on what you do, and there
Mhm.
are a few types of moves, like I think maybe jump kicks or some other specific things that they aren't as good at reacting to, and you just have to spam those over and over again. But it's like,
Yeah.
what's the
I
point?
was yeah, I was trying to look for like windows where I was saying like, "Oh, I can block them. So if I'm blocking them, they'll just like repeat these attacks over and over again, but like if I can time in between when they're doing their attacks, I can land an uppercut, or maybe I can knock them off their feet, and then, like, if I can get distance before they get back up, maybe I can do my flying kick on them as they're getting like, I was trying to figure out, like, there must be, like, some tiny window in between when they're allowed to perform attacks, and if I can just, like, wait for them to attack and then preemptively hit that window, maybe I can do it, and that did get me through Scorpion, but on the second one, it was like, I can't even, like, block enough to not die. I had to start by blocking their attacks or dodging their attacks or something because they just came out the gate so fucking hard and fast. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2 in general, I think, is faster than Mortal Kombat 1. And
Mhm.
so you get pummeled faster too
Yeah.
if you're playing that way. When we moved to multiplayer, us playing against
Mhm.
each other, that really
Yeah.
completely changed my opinion of Mortal Kombat 2. I was like, "Oh, okay, now I actually have a chance to study these characters, learn these moves, lock into the types of characters that I like and see them and feel them and play around with them, and infinitely
Mhm.
more fun that way."
Yeah. Yeah, and the variance in the special moves I think helps a lot too because I find the basic moves so not that interesting. The special like having 4 of them instead of 2 is a huge deal in terms of the interest in playing it. So I preferred Mortal Kombat 2 by a lot in that respect. But again, um at no point was I able to really ever execute these super significantly against against the NPCs. So this really only applies to Mortal Kombat 2 when I'm fighting a person.
Right. Yes. And it's better even when you're losing because it's more fun to die if your opponent's electrocuting you than if they're just punching
Mhm.
you. Like
Yes.
at least you get to see something cool and funny happen. Which
Right.
I guess can lead us into the biggest thing maybe we haven't touched on yet, which is fatalities.
Mm-hmm, hmm.
For anyone unfamiliar, when you've won a match of Mortal Kombat, there's a brief period where your opponent is stunned and you can finish them off. And if you input a specific combo and each character has their own unique one, then you will do a flashy, crazy finishing move, a fatality, for instance, decapitating them, uh, uh, sucking them up and spitting out their bones, cartwheeling into their face,
Hmm.
electrocuting them, all kinds of things that you might figure out how to do. And I feel like that really is you can talk all about the nitty gritty of the differences of the moves and the types of characters from
Hmm.
Street Fighter, but fatalities really were the selling point of the game, I think, in the day. That was the thing people talked about. That was the big
Yes.
deal.
Yeah, that I'm like I said, fatalities are one of the things that I am aware of from this game. So I know that's a thing.
And it is another button thing you have to memorize.
Hmm.
Which is one of like early in the first Mortal Kombat, I found, it's much simpler. There's not as much to remember. I think Johnny Cage's fatality was like forward, forward, forward punch. And I found that when I first started, I figured that one out and I was like, great. And I saw a bunch of his fatalities and I was like, I'm doing fatalities. This is sick. As you graduate to Mortal Kombat 2 with more advanced characters, then it becomes harder for me at least to keep track of their special moves and then also remember a finishing move. And
Hmm.
they have multiple of those too, so you kind of have to decide like which one do I want to try to do. And I would always like get the moment would come and I'd freeze up and be like, wait a minute, was it forward back forward or forward forward back? Fuck, it's over.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about you, but it certainly doesn't help when I am on the opposite side of the screen and have to reverse it in my head. Like it's one thing to
Oh yeah.
reverse a motion that I've physically done, right? Where I'm like, I have physically done this. dozens of times because I'm doing it a million times in the fight. So, knowing that I have to push, left instead of right to push forward in order to shoot my fireball, easy because I've shot several dozen fireballs. But if I'm like, wait a second, what the fuck was the command? It was like this, and then being like, wait, no, reverse it. Oh, it's too late.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that screws me up every time. Every time I switch sides, my brain breaks. I immediately forget what I'm doing. I had the same issue in Street Fighter. There's not really a good way around that, I guess. You kind of have to learn to be good at it. Another difference between them, I think, in Street Fighter, I felt like more of the moves had you moving along the D-pad in a smooth, continuous motion.
Hmm.
Like Ryu's fireball was like down, diagonal, and forward. So I would kind of do like a zoop, a little arc, a little like quarter circle along the bottom of the D-pad before pressing punch or whatever. And none of the moves in Mortal Kombat really do that. The fireballs here, it's like, no, you press down, then forward, then punch, three separate inputs. And I think for me, that's easier. It felt easier to do because at least I can like be assured that I know what a button press is. Like I know that I tapped it or I messed it up and didn't tap it versus did I like move along the D-pad the right way? Was I too slow? Was I too fast? I find it a little trickier, but both of those can still work with that. Can still fuck me up, like you were saying, if I switch directions, and I will even forget forward or back from one match to the next, depending on which side I'm on. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
how many times I've done that move. My brain doesn't like to mirror it. It wants it to be the same. Um, which, um, can present challenges. But we did some of the fatalities.
Yeah, I did manage to perform a fatality, and I did it multiple times. I don't think I was able to do it again after I stopped playing you, like even when I beat NPCs. But I was able to do it. Unfortunately, it was the shitty cartwheel one that's not that entertaining. Um, but I did
Yeah.
manage to perform one.
I definitely did them in Mortal Kombat 1 a decent amount. Mortal
Hmm.
Kombat 2, no. In talking about the NPCs.
Hmm.
But they are like, I mean, they are a signature part of this franchise, and I do think they're very cool. And they give you this great little climactic reward because sometimes in a lot of games, fighting games included, that are competitive, the ending can kind of feel like anticlimactic. It's like, oh, I know, but my health bar is getting low, and then you hit me again, and now it's gone. But
Hmm.
you kind of expected it, or it just feels like over time you're just wearing me down. It just kind of ends, or you weren't looking at your health bar, and you're like, I don't know, I missed it. I didn't realize you were about to kill me. Could be kind of boring, but if you are doing fatalities, every Mortal Kombat fight ends with fireworks. Sometimes
Hmm.
literally. You're like there is a thing that makes you go holy shit. Like that's how you cap off a fucking fight. And if you're the guy doing it, it does feel really cool to pull it off. In a way
Hmm.
that I think I was previously sort of dismissive of, like I said, of not really being into the idea of having to memorize some button combo. But having done a few of them in Mortal Kombat, I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I get it. It is kind of cool to do it. You do feel like you really did something.
Yeah, to me, I mean, this here kind of comes to one of my issues with Mortal Kombat is that it does feel the fun and interest of it feels a little bit less accessible than with something like Street Fighter. Um, because I do agree with you that it's pretty cool to have a big flashy ending when you do the fatality, but most of the time I was unable to pull off a fatality. And I don't think that I agree with the idea of like you had a sliver of health left and then you just hit him with a regular punch and they died. Um, because like I don't know, when I'm in those situations in the game, the fact that I have a sliver of health is like building tension in me, where I'm saying, like, okay, I have control of this, but if he just gets one hit in, or like, ooh, we both only have a little bit of health left, I can't get hit, but if I can just get one hit, and then when the hit happens, you go, yeah, I did it. Like, to me, winning by even like winning by a tiny amount in the tight situation is really hype. Even if it's just like a regular punch that got through. Um, but what feels really anticlimactic to me is the match ends, but it's not over, right? There's not like a big sound effect and the guy goes. What happens is the guy's just kind of standing there ready to fall over, and we're waiting for you to finish it, and then you kind of flail around, fail to do anything, and then it goes, yeah, okay, you won. That to me feels extremely anticlimactic. And so that means that there's this big discrepancy in terms of how cool the end of a fight is relative to other fighting games based on did you manage to execute or not. And I do also think that that comes back to if you're not particularly good at executing the moves, the game is a lot more boring and a lot less flashy. If you don't know the combinations for your character, the game is a lot more boring and a lot less flashy. There's no real way to get access to these things when playing against an NPC, so you better be playing against an opponent that's going to let you do that. So you need an opponent who is close-ish to your skill level. Like if your opponent is really, really good at the game, you're not going to do anything. You'll just lose. You can't play on your own. It feels like Mortal Kombat is, on the whole, less accessible in its fun to something like Street Fighter, which is not to say it's fully inaccessible, because I did manage to do a lot of it. But I only managed to do a lot of it because I got to play against you, and I only got to do it against you because you're not a fighting game guy. If you played as much fighting games as you'd played Mario, there's no way I would have been able to do any of that. So I don't know.
Yeah, very fair points. It is odd because I feel like I agree with what you're saying, but also I did find it easier to play this than Street Fighter 2. So I'm like, well, by definition, from my experience, I felt like this was more accessible to me. I don't like what that is. I don't know. It's just the specific style of the controls in this game worked for me better for some reason.
I mean, I do think I know what it is.
Do you want to
Which
enlighten me?
is, well, we sort of touched on it already, which is that in Street Fighter, I found the basic attacks, the just like low punch, high punch, low like strong kick, fast kick, to be very interesting. And I might have asked this at the end. I don't remember because we didn't get any follow up on like if I'm focusing on learning to play fighting games well, do I want to focus on like figuring out how to do all of these basics, or do I just want to
Yeah.
like practice getting combos? And when I'm playing Mortal Kombat, my first thought playing the game, going back to the first question you asked me, is um like I want to master the fundamentals, right? I want to know when I'm kicking, when I'm blocking, when I'm punching. I want to figure out the timing. I want to figure out when there's an opening. I want to figure out when I can block, and I want to do it with the most basic stuff. And I don't think that's ever really interested you. Like I think you have been far more interested in the like cool flashy stuff you get to do, which was a lot harder to do in Street Fighter. I agree. It was easier in Mortal Kombat. But then, as I said, the basic stuff was more boring in Mortal Kombat. So, like, the fun wasn't accessible to me.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're probably hitting on it. I think right there. Yeah. I don't want to.
Hmm.
I could punch a guy if I wanted to. It would hurt,
Hmm.
and I'd probably get killed. But if I wanted to do it in real life, I could do it. But I
Hmm.
can't shoot lightning, and I can't shoot fire, and that's what I really
Hmm.
want to do. That's why I'm playing a video game.
Right.
It's not that exciting to me just beating a guy up. I am more drawn to I want the fantasy. I want the science fiction part of it.
Mhm.
Now, everything else you were saying in critiquing the game, I think goes to the fact that you got to kind of remember the world this game was released in, and
Mhm.
maybe it doesn't hold up anymore in that way. But think of this primarily as an arcade game or as even as a home console game. You were playing with a lot of people, and probably what you were expected to do was pick one character, like you said, memorize all their moves, memorize their fatality, and just play a billion times until you figured that out. And that probably everybody had their one character, like you do now. You have your main, like, oh, well, I know how to do the fatality with Raiden, so like I'm gonna pick him and get to do it. And if you're at the arcade, even better. It doesn't necessarily have to be that your opponent is your skill level or letting you practice. It could just be you're watching other people play. And that one guy is really good at the game. So you're going to stand there and watch him put his quarters in and look at what he's doing and the moves he's inputting. And, oh, that's how you do that fatality. I saw he did the little up, up, down kick. Now I know how to do it. And there was more of a communal thing that obviously you need a community to build from. And
Mhm.
for us playing this in a week and like a couple hours with each other, you don't get that same effect.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think this game is so dependent on who you're playing it with, like on having somebody to play with. And um, as much as it is in fact helpful that I already know you, we are ostensibly, at least to some degree, friends, kind of. And
Ugh.
like we're not so wildly disparate in skill level that like I literally can't play when you're playing. Um that's all very helpful, but also I do think that it hurts the game that you are only one person. There's only so much of a community you can have with like, okay, I'm going to sit down on the couch and play this fighting game with my one friend who will play with me. There's so much less to that than like, oh, I know a dozen guys who will play with me. I'm going to go out to the arcade and meet strangers who will play with me. It's very hard for me to assess this game in its intended way without that experience. And um I I think that it's very clear that this is the intended way to play the game. So much so that it kind of shuts out any other way of playing it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see if I had had this game as a kid, like, I don't know, if I had had a brother, I had a sister, but she didn't, she probably wouldn't have played it with me. But,
Mhm.
the classic, uh, you know, uh, middle American patriarchal vision of two young boys competing with each other and
Right.
learning from one another, right? And I could see that being a lot of fun of, every day you come home from school and you play Mortal Kombat with your big brother and
Yeah.
he beats you up, but you kind of get better at it. Or even beyond that, even just having three or four people, three or four friends in a
Mhm.
group who that way it's not stale, like, oh, just us playing each other all the time. You can do, oh, I'll play winner. And then it's like, oh, and you get a chance to take a break and process what other people are doing and like let those moves sink into your brain.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, that is, I mean, I think that's where these games shine for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I do think that for me, a large part of my enjoyment with these kinds of competition does come from like I need my like intermittent alone time to train. Right? That
Yeah.
is the one thing I don't like, that there's not a story mode that I can even engage with. It's so over the top punishing, right? Like, I feel like I need some level, even if it's not interesting, some ability to say, like, okay, I saw a bunch of holes. He kicked the shit out of me in this way and that way, and I was doing that and it seemed to work at first, but then he stopped me. Let's just go train against easy NPCs until I can drill down this and I've got that handled. Okay, because then when I go back, I'll be a lot more confident in what I learned last time. Like I have the ability to reinforce in a non-competitive setting, and then I can go back and stress test. And with this, there really isn't that I don't know. I feel like I don't have that here.
Yeah, I think the fighting genre is one of those ones that maybe is hurt the most by the format of our show. That
Mhm.
you're meant to be playing these like week after week off and on and gradually building up those skills. It's not the kind of game that you can just sit down in a week and like kind of be good at it.
Yeah. I
Um
also feel like maybe I'm not the kind of guy who like would want to be always developing my skill socially, right? Like I think there are probably some people who would say like I don't get it. Why wouldn't like if you want to play this against other people, why wouldn't you always be playing against other people? You will get better that way, and that's true. But I feel like they're like I would be the kind of person who's like, I'm only interested in this to play against other people, but I also need time to like decompress with that skill in between. I don't know, which
yeah.
that could vary by person.
Yeah, one thing you could do is put a second controller
Mm.
in and just fight against a dummy.
Yeah, I could, but like it's more than just it like a lot of it is also just stuff like, okay, I'm blocking his attack
Right,
and then he
right.
switches his attack, but when he's switching his attack, maybe there's an opening for me to get an uppercut. And when is that? And I can't do that unless they're doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It only goes so far. I mean, later games that actually have training modes are so good
Right.
because you can like tune the NPC to be weaker and stuff like that. Um, we also, I was very disappointed. The one other thing we both failed to do in Mortal Kombat 2, in addition to fatalities, they have friendships and babalities. And if you do a friendship move at the finish him screen, then I don't you like hug them or something nice. And if you do a babality, you actually turn them into a baby.
I know I really wanted that to happen. I was
We
trying, you
tried
were
so many
trying.
times. Well, first we realized you in order to do one of those, you have to not punch at all in that round or it won't work.
And then I kept fucking accidentally punching too. Or I'd be like, shit, god damn it. Now you need to win this one and do the babality. I don't have
Yeah,
Eh.
yeah. I wish those were more. That's what I wish was more accessible. I want to turn you into a
Mhm.
baby. But it is very fun. I mean,
Eh.
I love that the series it clearly has a sense of humor, and they're
Yes.
poking fun at the fact that there was so much controversy about the violence. They were like, oh, "What if you're a baby and we're your
Yeah.
friends?" Duh.
Yeah. Isn't that fun? You like that? Yeah, no, I mean it is very self-aware, right? Like it knows, it's not you're not ripping people's spines out because like I'm so dark and edgy and badass, take me seriously. Like you're ripping people's spines out because you're like, yeah, get him. Yeah, it's his spine. Woo! Yeah, like we're having a good
Yeah.
time here.
Now, should we? Do you think we should rate these individually or together? I might need individuals. I think.
Interesting. I would probably just bundle them together. Yeah.
You do whatever you feel is right. I think I'm going to do them separately.
Okay, okay.
Oh, and that
Oh, I
also
guess I go
what I meant
first.
was do it now.
I forgot I go first because you were
Yeah.
like, "I'm gonna do them separately." I'm like, "All right, go ahead, do them separate."
Please, your
Let's hear
final
it.
thoughts and your
Uh,
IGN rating.
yes, final thoughts and IGN rating. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I said most everything here. To me, my rating is gonna be, relative. I'm gonna be looking at my Street Fighter rating, for this. There's
Which was
There's pros and cons. For reference here, that was a 7.5 out of 10.
okay, go on.
Um, yeah. So uh, in this game, I do get a sense of I do find it fun to compete against another person. I found it a lot more fun in 2 than in 1. I'm mostly going to be looking at 2 because I don't know, it's hard for me to it's just hard. um so this is going to reflect 2 more because that's where I felt like I really got the more of the experience of playing against you. Um eh, yeah, I enjoyed learning the moves. I enjoyed trying to chain together a series of moves that were difficult for you to react to. Um I I found it fun that I could actually be hitting them. the things that the characters do are cool. The characters look cool. Um, Pretty much all the things that we said are positives about this game. That being said, it really is kind of a pro and con thing. Like you know, it's nice to have characters that are cool when they do the thing, but like if I'm not doing the thing, they're not that cool. Right. Do I really love a character if I haven't played them? Unlike with Street Fighter where I'm like that just might not be my character and I'm still like, "Yeah, woo, I love you M Bison even though you're not my guy." Um that sort of thing. Um, I also, I find it very boring that every character plays the same until you do the special moves. It feels like there should be more variance in that fighting style. And I also find it upsetting that I feel kind of forced into doing only that when I'm not playing against another person. Um, yeah, like this is a game that I would play again if another person was interested, but, like, it's so hard for me to imagine even, like, practicing this game on my own. Um, I think on the whole, I do prefer Street Fighter to this, but only by a little bit. I'm willing to give it credit for that competitive spirit, for that sense of like I should be in a room with other people, and I'm going to imagine myself being in a room with other people here. And I think that I am going to give Mortal Kombat a 7.4 out of 10.
7.4.
Mm-hmm.
7.4. What a score.
Thank you.
I changed my mind. I'm going to also give them just one rating together. I just changed my mind. These games, Mortal Kombat's, surprised me. I definitely went into this thinking Street Fighter, wasn't my genre. Fighting games aren't really my genre. I struggled with it a little. I didn't quite connect with it, but I liked the designs. I respected it for basically establishing the fundamentals of an entire genre. So I gave it a 7.7, Street Fighter 2. So I was like, some of that was almost just like out of respect, as more than how much I personally really enjoyed the game. But I kind of thought Mortal Kombat, oh, this is sort of the darker, edgier take that's trying to do this ultra cool thing, and it's bloody, but is going to end up being less exciting, and I'm going to run into the same issues with the combos and all this stuff. And I discovered that actually I had an easier time playing this game. I was able to pull the combos off more successfully, and when I did, I found them more interesting and enjoyable. I got into the characters themselves. I thought they were cool designs, like what little backstories they are in the game. It's still, the setup is still just, it's a tournament, which is pretty lazy, but it's fine. It is what it
It's a
is.
shonen.
Sure. I give a little more credit to the first game's single player mode. Where I think, in given enough time, if I actually did play this week over week, I would be able to beat that mode, and I was able to get my specials off in that mode and have a good time with it up until a point. So I'm like, yeah, it's not bad. I don't think it's like brutally unfair in the way that the Mortal Kombat 2 one might as well not even exist. So to me, that's like a wash between the two. They kind of even out to each other. And yeah, Mortal Kombat 2 definitely superior. I did kind of like, in a way, I liked the simplicity of the first game. That there were just two moves sometimes that I needed to remember, and that was really my speed. But then going back, for instance, and playing Sub-Zero and not having my puddle move, I was like, oh, I'm sad now. I really liked the additions they added, and the fact that most of your basic moves were the same. So you didn't have to like totally relearn everything. You were just adding on to it. And I thought that was really cool. But ultimately, like when we were playing Mortal Kombat 2 together, it was just really fun, pure and simple. And I felt like when we were playing Street Fighter 2 together, it was fun, But there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not really good at this. I'm not getting better at this. I'm ready to move on. And Mortal Kombat 2, I was like, man, I think we played it for like a full 90 minutes, just Mortal Kombat 2 together, which I think is I feel like if I had said put in more quarters, like let's keep going, we would have kept going. And I was having way more fun even when I wasn't always successfully pulling things off or winning. I just found the attempts more interesting. And I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's like you said, the special moves or something. But whatever it is I locked into made me, for probably the first time in my life, play a fighting game and think, oh, I actually could get behind memorizing some of these moves and enjoying the feeling of pulling them off successfully. I kind of get it now.
I think it was my presence that was responsible for that, but yeah.
I don't think that's correct. So not that these games must be pitted against each other, but they kind of are necessarily. So maybe they must. Yeah, very surprising to me. I guess I'm a Mortal Kombat guy over a Street Fighter guy, which I really did not expect. And I'm going to give them a combined score together of an 8.2.
All right, that's pretty good. That's a pretty high score.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't think that I think that a lot of it does come down to retrospect, because like I think at the time you're right. Like playing Mortal Kombat with you, I was more like, yeah, I can keep going. Whereas with Street Fighter, there was a little bit more burnout. But after I went back and played a whole bunch of single player on Street Fighter, I felt more ready. Like if you had been all like, let's do it again, I'd have been like, hell yeah, let's do it again. I'm feeling more confident, I'm feeling better. Whereas if you'd said that on Mortal Kombat after going and playing on my own, I would have been like, yeah, I mean, I guess, sure, if you want. Like I don't feel any better now than I was before. It would just be dicking around some more the way that I was dicking around when I first started. And I think that really is the difference for me. uh is that like playing more on my own didn't encourage me to go back and play with other people.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I definitely felt like, oh, I'm like Sub-Zero was my guy. Like I felt
Hmm.
like, and actually then I later, when I was playing Mortal Kombat 1 single player more, I really locked into Raiden, and I was really having fun doing his teleport move and his
Hmm.
thing where he jumps across the screen and pushes somebody. And I was like, oh yeah, I just like the way it moves. It's like, it's very fast. The game is super fast. The
Hmm.
graphics are cool. The music is fun. Yeah, I like the vibe of it all. I'm sort of a violent guy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you are. What can you say?
So yeah, I
They
mean,
call
like I
you
said,
Violent J.
it's that's right. It surprised me because I really, I kind of thought, oh, I'm just not a fighting game guy, and now I'm thinking maybe I'm just not a Street Fighter guy.
Hmm.
And this is a part of myself I've never opened up to before, or maybe I'm just not a Street Fighter 2 guy. Again, it's hard to say because these series have gone through so many changes since the versions we're playing.
Hmm.
So it's hard. I can't really judge an entire franchise off of the 30 years old iteration of them. But we could see what other people were saying 30 years ago as we turn to Retro Review Corner.
Hmm. Love that corner.
That's right. It's where we take a look at classic reviews from back in the day. And I don't have too many here, but one thing I found from the original Mortal Kombat arcade reviews that I thought was interesting is a lot of them will straight up refer to the game as, or not even Mortal Kombat specifically, but they reference their existing a lot of what they call Street Fighter 2 clones. And it's very clear that Street Fighter 2 just set the template, and we were still living in a world where it wasn't just a fighting game. These are Street Fighter likes. because
Mm-hmm.
because that game was just so dominant and was only like a year old at this point. And even in that year already, there had been enough knockoffs and people trying to do the same thing that you could say, oh, it's another Street Fighter game, even just by the time you're getting to Mortal Kombat, which is crazy to think about just how fast they were pumping these things out.
Yeah.
Here's a little snippet you're going to like from a publication called Computer and Video Games.
Good name.
I'm going to
Very
read
creative.
the summary of their thoughts for you.
Let's see.
Flippin' eck. The amount of Street Fighter II challenges just doesn't let up. This one looked to be the most promising, and for one brief moment, people thought it might even be better. Well, don't get too excited, because Mortal Kombat is another that falls short of the mark. It was a nice idea to combine the brilliant graphics of Pit Fighter with the superb gameplay of Street Fighter II, but unfortunately, it just hasn't paid off. The digitized sprites just don't fit with the backdrops and look as though they've been just laid on top of them. If that's not enough, it gets worse when you come to the moves. They're the most important part of the game, and they're all crap. Well, okay, the uppercut is a bit of a laugh, but that's about all. Mortal Kombat is a bold attempt to steal Street Fighter's crown, but better luck next time is probably the best way to sum it up.
I mean, I can tell you the problem this guy had. He's talking about the moves are all crap, and then he says the uppercut is pretty good. This guy never figured out a combo. Which, to be fair, they're complicated and hard. How are you supposed to figure them out? But he didn't figure them out. He never saw a combo.
This is the arcade version, so you wouldn't have had an instruction manual, perhaps.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the beginning does start flippin' apostrophe eck.
Oh no, I was positive it did. Yes.
There's also
I could tell
another
from the way you said it.
There's another section in here that begins, "Ooh, core blimey, governor." So maybe they're being self-aware. Because they didn't say that unironically.
The thing about the Brits is that they do know how ridiculous they sound, and they actively play into it, and that doesn't make it better, right? This is a thing that I'm pretty adamant about. Like, just because you lampshade a problem doesn't mean you fixed it. Like, you can't just be like, haha, boy, that sure is a stupid thing that we did here, haha, moving on. No, you did a stupid thing. You don't just get to say it, right? Oh boy, I sure do talk like a fucking asshole. Yeah, you do. You know, you don't just say that.
Leave the British alone. Come on. They've suffered enough.
You could just not do that.
Now here's another classic review that I have from Coin Ops. Oh, sorry, it's from Sinclair User. Coin Ops is the name of the section. And once again, you see a similar thing here where they say Mortal Kombat is, it must be said, a pretty pale imitation of Street Fighter II. All right, the graphics are fairly spectacular when you first set eyes on them, but the action is pretty stiff, the result of real people trying to pull off superhuman moves. The whole thing moves at a pretty crawly speed, and there just aren't enough special moves to go around. Not only this, but there's also no real scope for tactical play or discovering zillions of special strategies. The death moves are a pretty cheap marketing ploy, as they have no real effect on the game. Just a regular punch or even standing still for a couple of seconds finishes off opponents on whom the death move is performable. So a lot of this reads to me like people weren't ready for it yet. Like they just didn't get it. Like,
yeah, I mean that does, especially the death move part.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, like that does feel like a very like old school fucking wizardry style nerd, where they're like, the death move has nothing to do with the strategy of gameplay and therefore has nothing to do with the experience of gameplay.
Yeah.
Right, like, and it's, well, that's not quite right.
Now, eventually, I've got another one review here for Mortal Kombat 2 from, I think it's also Computer and Video Games Magazine or whatever. And here someone finally says, they reference the stunning graphics and sound, impressive audio visuals. They say some of the special moves are ridiculously difficult to pull off. But all in all, I reckon this is as good as Super Street Fighter 2. So by the time you get to Mortal, I think also part of what happened is these games sold millions of copies and became such a sensation that I wonder if by the time Mortal Kombat 2 comes out, people weren't listening to the reviewers. The reviewers kind of realized like, oh, these games are really popular. I guess these games maybe are good and we just should be being nicer to them. And they were just so in the Street Fighter 2 camp.
Mm.
I don't know. I
It's
don't
about
know.
ethics in games journalism.
I don't know what the broader consensus is from the gaming community, because I do. My sense is that Street Fighter is still held up as the more prestigious legacy franchise. And I think Mortal Kombat does still have a reputation of just kind of being, oh, that's sort of the edgy one and you're trying to be cool.
Yeah.
But Street Fighter's like for the real fighting game
Yeah, it's
players.
it's kind of the memeified one. Like everybody loves Mortal Kombat because of the dumb theme song, haha. Um,
Right.
but like if you like fighting games, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll take your word for it.
I also found a great issue of EGM, which doesn't necessarily have a Mortal Kombat review in it, but it turned up with some Mortal Kombat stuff from back in the day. I just needed to mention it. Opens with a letter from the president of EGM, uh, um, that apparently hundreds of people complained about the last issue because he didn't give a new Street Fighter game a great score. And apparently Capcom like threatened to pull out their advertising from the magazine.
Jesus.
And he wrote this whole thing about basically saying, fuck you guys, I'll give it whatever score I want. We don't need Capcom.
It really is about ethics in games journalism.
It was
Jesus
kind of crazy, dude. I was like, holy shit.
Christ.
Things were going on. Just to place you in time a little bit, in this magazine, there are advertisements for Final Fantasy III, which of course was Final Fantasy VI. So we're really jumping around a lot on the timeline in our show.
Mm.
And the other thing that blew my mind that I saw in here were
Mm.
advertisements for specialized third-party Mortal Kombat controllers that you could buy
Ooh.
that came with preset options so that you could perform specials and fatalities just by pressing a single button. Now, what do you think
That
about that?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that would detract severely from the gameplay if you were good. But maybe if you were at my level, it would be a little bit better. Like you would have more games where you're like, yeah, I'm doing the cool stuff and I'm trying to figure out how the moves work, but I'm not just like I'm not just sitting here like I think the right time to use the move was right then, but I just failed to do it because I only have an 80% hit rate, and then I lost. Would I have won had I pulled that off? I don't know. You know, like those scenarios, those feel bads don't happen. Maybe it's fine, but I do feel like if you're at a point where you're consistently executing at like 100%, given that nothing happened to you, right? Like, given that you're not being interrupted, that would detract severely, not just um and not just because it would feel different to perform it, like kinetically. I mean, there is also a timing thing. Like, it does take more time to put in more inputs than to put in fewer inputs. So that might fundamentally change gameplay too. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't like
Yeah.
it.
It is hilarious that it existed. But yeah, there's something about doing a fatality in particular. I almost
Mhm.
don't mind it as much just for your special moves. But the fatality, it's like, if I could just press a button and rip your head off, then it's not as special to me. Half the fun of when I
Yeah.
actually do it is because I'm like, holy shit, I actually did it. I
Mhm.
pulled it off, literally.
Yeah, I mean, the fatality button sounds like it sucks. I would much rather it say finish him, and that's basically press any button to continue, right? Like you press any button, you do your fatality. You know, I would much rather that than say like here's the fatality button. Press it to do the fatality if you want to do. Fuck off. You know, like either make it so that it's impossible not to perform the fatality. It's just the thing you do to end the battle, or make it so that you actually have to do it, right? Like those are both potential options you could have. But yeah, taking the one and turning it into its own button sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. We say no. Don't buy those controllers, listeners.
They do sound kind of cool though.
Yeah, I want one.
Yeah.
You know what else? One other thing I thought was funny that I saw is that, Johnny character of Johnny Cage. By the way, I don't know if you said
Mhm.
like who your favorite character. I guess Liu Kang you said was your guy.
That was my like guy that I felt like I was doing the best with. I was also doing okay with Baraka, and I think as a character, I
Yeah.
like Baraka a lot more. As much fun as it is to walk the line on whether or not you're being racist when you imitate Liu Kang's Bruce Lee imitation yells, because like that is fun. Um, I think that Baraka as a character, I mean, he's creepy. He's got blades for hands. He's got a big creepy smile. When he hits you, it's like Jesus, you just cut my head in half. I like it. So I think I like him better as a character.
Baraka kind of the Blanca of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel ya.
Well, there's some interesting backstory in some of the characters. Like, for instance, Liu Kang originally was supposed to have a shaved head and be a monk, but the actor
Mm.
just didn't want to shave his head, so he ended up being a Bruce Lee character. Like, that was totally incidental. And Johnny Cage was based on Jean-Claude Van Damme, hence why his initials are JC. And
Mm.
and of course, but who ended up getting Jean-Claude Van Damme for their movie was Street Fighter.
Get fucked.
I wonder if they did that on purpose.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, based on having seen the Street Fighter movie, Van Damme would have made a much better Johnny Cage than Guile. I'll tell you that. He
Yeah.
didn't really capture the guile in my imagination.
Yeah, it's probably fair enough. All right. Uh, you know what? Why don't we do a minor mail opening?
I do love the Meinl Mare.
We've got an email this week that comes in from Spam Viking,
Hi, Spam Viking. I'm
one of our
glad
good
it's not
friends.
Steven again.
No. And this one goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, last week's episode, Final Fantasy II. Spam Viking writes, "Hello, Bad with Gamers. It's been a minute since I've emailed in, especially since the Discord server is right there and I'm lazy. What an amazing value that Patreon is. Can you believe
Mhm.
it?"
I can't.
I'm just
I
reading
mean,
the
it's
email,
really
folks.
hard to believe is that we don't have at least 5 times as many subscribers, given the
You're right about
value.
that. You are right about that. I have tried on a few occasions to get into Final Fantasy II, but really got put off by the stat progression system. I'll pose the question to you two. Bono and the Edge are here? Oh, no, he means us. What do you prefer? An RPG system that allows for control and really in-depth customization for all characters? Or the other end of the spectrum, where you have a suite of numbers that go up once an EXP threshold is reached, which improves your stats according to factors which the player might choose at the start of the game, or perhaps not at all. I prefer more structure than what we get from FF2, but then you run the risk of the game developers making all the decisions in a genre that I think is supposed to be driven by the player's choices. Not to mention, they're also trying to, have a story with a plot and stuff alongside of all this video game nonsense. I think it might be interesting seeing how this tension between the two extremes continues in future entries in the Final Fantasy franchise. Keep up the good, bad gaming. Spam Viking. P.S. I don't have anything constructive or interesting to say about fighting games, but I hope you have fun with both of your Mortals Kombat.
Thank you.
So the question is, do you prefer an RPG where you can customize each of your characters and their stats in depth, or one where the stats go up based on something maybe you pick at the start of the game, or maybe the game just decides it for you and you don't think about it at all?
Hmm.
I think this is an
It's
interesting one to
yeah.
pose to you because I feel like Pokemon has a lot of this stuff
Y-
going on.
yes. Um, I don't know that I have enough experience to say for certain. Um, as an answer to this question, like in depth. Um, But I will say I am the kind of guy who does like the ability to have a lot of customization. The more freedom I have, generally, the happier I am. I am the kind of guy who likes, big spreadsheets of numbers involved with their characters. I have made multiple large spreadsheets with regards to the Pokemon games in order to more optimally do things in
Loser.
them. I won't deny it. Uh, you're right. Um, so like that is the sort of thing that I in general like. But I do also understand that there are gameplay constraints that go along with that. You know, having more structure that's imposed upon you can make it easier for the game to tell its narrative, for example, perhaps, right? Like if the game needs your party to function in a certain way, then they might want to put at least enough rails to get you to have a party there, and that could be, maybe that's worth it, right? Because maybe it makes the, you know what I mean? Like there are more elements to the game than just the stats and just the level progression and just the battle. And it's not clear to me that that full complete freedom all the time always is not going to interfere with that. Or the other way around, like I said during the Final Fantasy episode, uh the fact that it was very, very hard to change something that I'd already put 8 hours into on the fly, and the fact that I was going to have a rotating roster of characters that I didn't know in advance when I would have them, so I never knew if I was going to have 3 party members or 4, and if I did have 4, what would the 4th one be good at? I don't know. They're gonna have some kind of proficiency when I get them. Um, you know, because there's that coming, it might have been more helpful for that particular game to have been on more rails in order to guide me through these characters that I'm going to get and not get. As opposed to maybe in the first game, whatever, you get one party and you just make them do something, and I know how D&D party composition works, and so on and so forth. Um,
Yeah.
I'm yeah, I'm curious your response to this.
That could even detract from the characters too.
Hmm.
Like if I'm trying to write a real story beyond the level of Final Fantasy 2, it's
Hmm.
very helpful for me to be able to say, "Oh, this character is the mage." Or this character is the axe guy or the sword guy
Right.
even. That can say something about who that person is. And if you can just make that whatever you want, then it could, like, a mage could be a mean person or a nice person, to give a very dumb example. But
Right, right.
a lot of times what their abilities are can feed into their personality.
Right. Yeah, Final Fantasy II, you've got Firion and Guy and Maria, and they've got canon names, and they've got like real portrait sprites on their stat screens, and they've got lines of dialogue, right, in the game. Unlike, Final Fantasy One, where you're just some people, or Pokemon, where your character does not actually, like, technically some of the protagonists seem like they speak, but you never get to read what it is they say. And all of your individual Pokemon are just random things you caught, and you get to pretend as to what you think their personality is. It's not like, oh, I definitely have this Pokemon who's like this, and this one who's like this. It's not like, and then Maria asked about her brother Leon, or something like that. Like, that's a character. Yeah, so it could detract from that Maria can be anything that you want her to be, because it gives you, the writer, like, less freedom of what you can do with her. Like, you can't make her be any specific kind of fighter, because then that might be at odds with what the player does, unless you
Yeah.
put them on rails. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
As for the rest of the question, I think I tend to be more or less the opposite of you in my
Mhm,
preferences.
mhm.
The main distinction I'm thinking of here is, generally it feels to me that it's Western RPG versus JRPG. The more D&D esque sort of thing of, like playing a Skyrim or a Fallout, where you have 20 stats and you can choose, are you putting your points into persuasion or strength or agility or whatever the things are, versus most Final Fantasy games, 2 being the exception. I leveled up, I got points, I move on.
Mhm.
I'm not interacting with that in any way. And a lot of times in games, unless it's something I'm really captivated by for some reason. When I see all those options, I get overwhelmed and I go, I don't know what the fuck this is. What if I screw up? Like, what if I put all my points into charisma and it turns out that I need to beat a boss and now I'm fucked because I don't have any strength? Like, is that going to be more fun? What's more fun? Should I just make them balanced? And I feel like a lot of times those types of games are geared more towards the type of people who are planning on doing multiple playthroughs or having multiple characters or looking online to read what are the best builds and all this stuff. The same reason I don't play Magic the Gathering, right? Is because I don't have the mental energy to build my own fucking deck. I'm like, just give me the deck and then I'll figure out how to play it. I don't want to I don't want to do the homework basically.
Yeah. You can play Magic like that if you want. I don't think you want to.
I mean, I also don't like Magic. We don't need to talk about it right now. I kind of like, sometimes there's the best of both worlds thing though. Like a lot of the Mario RPGs will do this where you have your basic level ups. It's not like you have a bunch of stats, but every time you level up, you'll get a choice of, you get an extra bonus and you can either put it in your health, your magic power, or some other stat. And so you get to steer the ship a little bit, but it's still mostly a guided tour, and it's not like you can fuck anything up or really change anything that badly by choosing something different.
So, yeah, I was going to ask you because I know it's also pretty common. I don't necessarily have the experience to talk about it in depth, but it's pretty common to also like kind of thread that needle with like skill trees, right? Where it's like, okay, if I put all of my characters' points down path 1, they're going to act like this. Down path 2, they'll act like this. Down path 3, they'll act like this. Or I could mix some of those and have them fulfill kind of a mixed role. But like character A cannot do what character B does. Right, like they can do one of 3 things, or they can do a mix of any 2 of those 3 things. But it's only those 3 things they can do. So you get a lot of freedom to kind of like make them kind of precisely what it is you want to do. And I guess this is similar to what you're saying. But maybe more like specific skill based as opposed to more health, more damage or something. But you don't get the total freedom of like, listen, man, obviously Maria's supposed to be your mage, but like there is absolutely no reason you can't just hand her an axe at the beginning and make her your axe wielder if that's what you want.
I mean, I'll be honest, I even prefer, I would kind of rather that I just learn spells. I don't really like in the early Final Fantasies having to go buy them and then teach them, and then like you can only learn so many and which ones are good for which character. I'm like, just when she levels up, can she just learn Blizzard? Like, that's fine. I don't want to have to deal with that part of it. That feels like the designers just like put that onus on me. I'm like, that's your job. You're supposed to do that. Not me.
And I guess similarly with Pokemon, it's like, okay, I've got a Bulbasaur, right? It can learn a shitload of moves. It can only have 4 at a time. So there's a number of different functions you can make that Bulbasaur fulfill. But like, let's be real here. There's really only like 4 or 5 tops, even if you're including ones that it's really not that good at. Right? Like you can't just say like, yeah, okay, this is going to be my fire type that's going to spam flamethrower against opposing grass types. Like it won't do that. Right. So like there is some built-in structure there as well, even though you still have some freedom to fuck around with it. And this is just in-game, competitively you can do a lot more, but like none of that shit matters.
Yeah, I mean,
If you are a loser nerd putting EVs into your in-game Pokemon, like you're dumb. You're actually dumb.
We'll talk about this when we get to Pokemon. But I was actually thinking about Pokemon the other day specifically, and like, how much of those systems am I okay with just because I played them when I was so young that they were ingrained and I got used to them? And if I like was presented with that today, I might feel like, oh, this is fucking so cumbersome and annoying. I don't know, but we'll talk about that. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's really game. I guess like if I had to pick one, I kind of prefer the just level up, but it is game dependent. There's, if they design around it, it can be, sometimes it's fun to pick your thing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think we're both kind of on there's pros and cons. Like ideally in most situations, ideally, you're probably not doing strictly one or the other, because in most
Yeah.
situations there's pros and cons. But I could imagine a situation where I'm just like, hell yeah, I'm all in. I think honestly it is more competitive. Like I'm all in on the ability to have full manipulation if I'm just going to be competing directly against another person and it's just my optimization versus their optimization and that's the whole game. Whereas if it's like super super narrative and world focused, then like don't give me all of this other crap that's going to be getting in the way of what should be the focus. And then in most situations it's somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because I'm usually not that interested in the competitive parts of it. So
Hmm.
I'm like, why am I spending all this time building my character just to play against a computer? Like, just let me,
Yeah.
it's not real. Also, I do like skill trees you mentioned, but I feel like I've seen skill trees more often in like action games than RPGs.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that might be right.
Um, but I'm sure there's I'm sure there are role playing games with skill trees in them, but for when I play them anyway. I got a song to play for you before we go.
Oh boy.
By the way, you can email us badwithgamespodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for that email, Spam Viking. We loved it. And to take us home, here's a little number inspired by Mortal Kombat this week that I think you're all going to really love.
Fight!
500 years and Shang Tsung is still hosting his tournament, trying to kill us folks for his entertainment. To get our souls, he's gonna do us harm, and his guard is a big guy who's got 4 arms. Oh man, 4 is too many arms. And so I punch and stab till I'm seeing some red. Then I lift up my leg and kick their head. And I'm feeling a little barbaric. And so I wait till it's over and they're stuck in place. And I move in real close and get in their face. And I tear at the base of their lungs, rip out their spine.
Finish him!
And I say, Faye, Faye. I said, Faye, fatality. And I say, Faye, Faye. I said, Faye, fatality.
Excellent!
Ow, 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 ow. And they die. Oh my God, do they die? They die all the time. It's my retribution. Their blood sprays. Oh my God, does it spray? I kill them in every way, like electrocution. And so they cry sometimes when I'm making them dead. Just to finish them quick, I'll crush their head. And I am feeling a little destructive.
Finish her!
And if they make me real angry, then it's harpoon time. And I pierce them real deep, look them in the eye. And I scream from the top of my lungs, get over here. And I say, Faye, Faye. I said, Faye, fatality. And I say, Faye, Faye. I said, Faye, fatality.
flawless victory.
Ow. 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 500 years and my life is still trying to get a nasty kill, I hope, for decapitation. Oh, thank you. That's nice.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I mean, you had quite the milestone to live up to in terms of Mortal Kombat songs. So let our listeners decide who wore it best, so to speak.
Yeah. I think we all know it was me.
You got that applause after all.
I mean, I didn't get that applause for nothing. Hey, if you like that song, take a look at our Worse with Games channel to find it later as a standalone video. And you might be able to find footage of the two of us playing some Mortal Kombat and chatting it up with each other also over there. Patrons, of course, will get that early at patreon.com/badwithgames, where you can also get access to our bonus Bad With Everything podcast every week, a new discussion. This week, of course, we're talking about the 1995 Mortal Kombat film. Pretty exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Mm-hmm. And email us badwithgamespodcast@gmail.com for any questions or comments about video games or whatever. And next week, man, I got to tell you, I mean, the rest of this season, we're really, we're not fucking around anymore. We're up in the ante.
I've looked forward a little bit, and we are ripping going forward
here. Shit is popping off beginning next week with the one and only Super Mario World. Our return once again to the Mario franchise. And last time you didn't fare so well.
I give it a 7.1, I think.
You gave an incomplete score-ish to Mario 3.
I'm giving a preliminary score to this one.
I think that's still in the air. I think you're still maybe owe the audience a rectification of that. If that's something I can say.
Rectification. I don't know if that's...
I didn't know if it was a word.
More of an update.
Oh, okay, sure.
I might have been correct all along, for all they know.
But Mario World, this is a big one. This is a real, we're in it. Super Nintendo, we're going there, people. You're not going to want to miss it. All right. I guess we're leaving. Gamers out.
Fatality. Babality.